Okay guys, so it's finally time to talk about the Deception finale, which was just kind of crazy last night. But before we get to that, I just want to tell you guys a couple of things. One, don't forget that tonight is my live streaming Deception chat. So if you come back here to this channel tonight at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, because I live on the West Coast, for you East Coasters, that's 9 p.m. If you come back here, there's going to be some live chatting happening. I've got a couple of other people that are going to join me on screen. And yeah, you guys will be able to chime in. There'll be a chat feature so you can add your comments and questions. And we're going to talk about Deception Season 1. We're going to talk about Julian and Joanna, J&J. And we're going to talk about the finale and all of the craziness that it was. So definitely make sure you guys check that out. If you're subscribed to me, the live stream will pop up in your feed. And if you're not subscribed to me, what are you doing with your life? Get it together and click the subscribe button. Now, the other thing I wanted to mention is that I have actually done reviews of every single Deception episode for this season. So I'm going to throw the link up to a playlist that includes all of those reviews if you guys would like to go back and check any of those out. Okay, so let's talk about the finale. Robert Bowers is the bad guy. And I think Robert was on, the top of a lot of our lists. But there were times when it would be like other people would seem like they were guilty. And Robert just seemed too obvious. But it was Robert. And I feel like in this episode, he really showed his true colors. Like, he really showed us what's important to him, and he's just a bad kind of guy. I mean, like, who kills their kid? Like, that completely sucks. I'm totally, too, like, at the very end of the episode, I'm totally reminded of that scene between him and Joanna, where he goes to Joanna's room, and they're sitting talking, and he's telling her, like, look, I thought you were working for Kirshner Sims, and all this stuff, but, let's move past that, come down to dinner. But there's this point where he tells her something like, I always get what I want. Like I always know what's going on, and I always get what I want type of thing. And it was just like, in that moment, it was like you knew that he just, like, he's gonna do whatever he has to do to get what he wants. As far as motive, it's like, did he kill her because of the whole Lyritrol thing? Or was it a combination of Lyritrol and the fact that he knew that she was going to take Mia away? Or is there something else? I guess, we'll have to see if that happens, if there's a season 2. That's the other kind of bummer thing about last night's episode, is it more than likely is our last Deception episode, because things are not looking good for a season 2. Although it hasn't officially been canceled, I just keep hearing, like, that it's, like, inevitable. That, there's no chance of Deception getting a season 2. But we're still holding out hope. Still holding out hope. Because there was a cliffhanger at the end, too, you guys. Like, what was that all about, NBC? Really? Like, cliffhanger? This is why people resort to fan fiction right here. Cliffhangers. So, of course, at the end of the episode, we see Mia getting kidnapped by Wyatt. Ugh. Because he's, got some sort of revenge scheme going on in his head against Sophia. So, if there's a season 2, I guess we'll figure that all out. But let's talk about this episode, you guys. Like, basically, at the beginning of the episode, we get that Joanna doesn't think that Audrey killed Vivian. So she goes to see Will and Gabe, and she's just like, look, you need to keep digging, because I don't think Audrey killed Vivian, and she didn't actually confess to it, like, if you think about it, and at one point we see Will going back to watch or listen to the tapes again, from the wire that Julian was wearing, and she doesn't say she killed Vivian. Gabe, of course, is probably freaking out because he killed this woman for money, because he thought he was doing the right thing, because he's an idiot. So yeah, though, Joanna is the one who's really kind of sticking to her guns, because obviously, throughout this whole series, that's the point of her being there. That's why she said yes to going undercover, was because she felt like she had failed her friend at one point, and she wanted to make that right. And so she's the one who kind of digs her feet in, and is like, no, we need to find out who really killed her. So she goes to see Haverstock, and she tries to, like, question him as a friend. But Haverstock reveals to her that he knows that she's a police officer. He knows that she's a cop. So, once again, Joanna's cover gets blown, One last time during the finale, this woman is like the worst undercover officer ever. Like, everyone knows that she's a police officer. Except for Julian. But Haverstock has got a fantastic alibi for the night that Vivian was killed. He was seeing the President of the United States. He was at the White House, and he spent the night at the White House. And then in the end, too, we learn that Haverstock is getting ready to become the Attorney General of the United States, which was why he was at the White House. So he technically is going to be all of their bosses, like way up the food chain. And they did kind of a setup, you know, for season 2, in that he told them, like, look, Joanna, you need to stay where you're at until we can kind of prove, you know, that Robert was the one who killed Vivian. You need to stay undercover. And yeah, so you kind of get that if there's a season 2, this whole operation of figuring out how to prove that Robert killed Vivian would still be happening. Now, Will is kind of getting all the accolades. You know, he's got a new corner office with a view. There's going to be a party. And he doesn't want to hear it from Joanna at first, mostly because, of course, she broke his little heart. But eventually he does listen, and, you know, he does begin to realize that, you know, there may be something to what she's saying. Now, so Sophia became a suspect for a little bit, you know, when she and Wyatt got caught having, like, a cheese fight in the grocery store. That was hilarious to me. Like, he showed up at the grocery store, and she just started throwing cheese at him. It was kind of funny. So the two of them get bought in, and he starts to realize kind of what's going on. Oh, and obviously there's a lot more story behind why Wyatt was in jail. It sounds like he was in jail for killing Sophia's dad, but that's not what really happened. Why he doesn't just take that $3 million that she gave him and go off and, you know, be on a beach sipping some pina coladas, I don't know. I mean, like, that is totally what I would be doing, but he wants revenge for the years that he, you know, did in prison for her because he loved her, and now, you know, she doesn't love him anymore, so... yeah. But yeah, she becomes the suspect, especially once most people realize that Vivian did know about Wyatt, and it was like, was that, you know, Sophia's reason for killing her because she was trying to hide that and because she was trying to keep Mia. And I think Sophia, you know, is a good suspect as well, but of course in the end it wasn't her. Now, I called it last week. I'm gonna go ahead and pat myself on the back. Oh, go Poppy, because Carpe Diem tattoo guy from last week's episode, I knew that was important because they did that whole close-up on his tattoo. So it turns out that he's at the motel a lot, and he is kind of a witness. So Joanna goes to talk to him. So he tells Joanna that he saw Vivian actually leave this motel at 3:30 in the morning. That to Joanna means, you know, that Vivian wasn't actually killed at the motel. And so that takes us back to the bracelet too from last week that they found on the floor in the cellar, because Julian makes a comment to Joanna because she's wearing it. And he says, oh, this looks like Vivian's bracelet. And she says, oh, it is. Mia thought, you know, she would want me to have it. And Julian says, like, I think she was wearing it the last time I saw her, like on the night she was killed. And so, of course, Joanna's like, are you sure? You know, she's asking all her, like, undercover cop questions in a not so subtle way. But then we get that, obviously, that means Vivian was killed at the Bowers home in the wine cellar. So that's when they actually start to do their jobs, the FBI, and they start to do some detective work. Imagine that. And, yeah, they start to go back and question some of the people, the witnesses from the motel who they thought were crazy. Because they realized that, okay, somebody killed her someplace else, and then they brought her body back to the motel. And how would they do that? How would they, like, drag her body up the stairs? And then they would have put her in a suitcase. They would have put her body in a suitcase, and they have some witness who had said something they thought was crazy about a suitcase, and they go find this guy, and they find the suitcase, which of course belongs to the dad, to Robert Bowers, and so that's their big evidence that they have. Now, stupid Gabe, who is becoming a bad police officer, who took money from Robert for killing Audrey, you know, he obviously is just like, oops, I killed the wrong person because you're the one who did it. And so he and Robert have this whole, like, spy, like, clandestine meeting, like, it was just kind of funny. The two of them, like, meet me on the tram. So he tells him, like, look, we've got some evidence, we've got the suitcase, and Robert's just like, you know, you've got the suitcase in your car, you could destroy the evidence, because basically if I go down, you're going down too. So that's what he does. Like, Gabe, like, fixes it so that the evidence gets lost. And so that's why, you know, they have the really big setup for a season 2, if there's a season 2. It's like they know that Robert did it, but now it's about proving that he did it because they lost their kind of major piece of evidence. Another setup for season 2 is Julian finding out that there was something fishy going on with his mom's death. He comes back home one day to find Beverly, to find Joanna's mom kind of like not well. So she's like sitting looking at a photo album with pictures of Julian's mom in it. And when Julian comes into the room, she thinks that he's Robert, and so she starts talking to him like that, and basically telling him that he's a monster, and that what he did to Catherine was wrong. And so Julian is just like, what are you talking about? You know, like, he's like in shock, basically. And there's the scene between him and his dad where he tries to ask his dad about his mom, and you know, dad just brushes it off kind of thing. But you get that if there's a season 2, Julian's going to be looking more into his mom's death. Okay, let's talk about J&J. Possibly for the last time, which is kind of sad. Let's have a moment of silence. Just kidding. The last couple of episodes for J&J have just been really, really good. After a long time of waiting, you know, the two of them finally are truthful with each other. Or at least Joanna is finally truthful with him. And there was just some really great scenes in this episode. One, you guys know how much Will drives me crazy, and I know I'm not the only one, right? But I felt so bad for him at the party, right? So they're at this party, and Joanna's there, and Julian's there, of course, and he sees her from across the room, and there's this moment where he just, like, ignores this reporter to go to her and just, like, grabs her and starts kissing her. And she's, of course, like, okay, stop. People are gonna know. And he's just like, what? I don't care. And then he sees Will, and he's all like, oh, I want to introduce you to somebody. And so he takes her over to introduce her to Will. And that scene was just kind of like, awkward. Because Will, too, tried to throw some shade on Joanna. He tried to be all like, oh, you look familiar. Maybe not. It was just like, whatever, Will, with your broken heart. My favorite J&J moment, though, is at the end of the episode when they are, like, in their room together. They're in Joanna's room, and they're, like, laying on the bed, and they're kissing, and they're talking. And then Robert comes to knock on the door. And Joanna's just like, oh my gosh, like, you've got to hide. And it was just really cute because he climbed out the window, and as he was leaving, you know, she says to him, like, be careful, because the last time you did that you were 19, like, don't fall, basically. But it was just really cute to see the two of them kind of, like, sneaking around. And, you know, part of me wants to be a season 2 as well, so we can see more J&J. Obviously, too, the big thing is we want to see Joanna tell him that she's a police officer. And he made some comment, too, in this episode about people lying to him and all this stuff, and so you know that it's not going to be good, you know, when she does tell him. Yeah, we didn't get to see that in this episode, so it's like, I know that was something people were waiting for, to see if she was going to tell. So that would be something that would be coming in the future, if there is a future for this show. So one of the really sad parts of this episode was really Edward and Samantha, basically him letting his wife go. So we saw her get shot in the last episode by this assassin, and who thought she was Edward, because he's the worst assassin in the world. He just shoots before he even looks. And in this episode, I was a little hopeful at first when they first show her in the hospital bed. I thought, oh, she's not dead. But then it's like, oh, wait a minute. She's just basically on life support, and she has a living will, so she's already said, I don't want to be on life support. Basically, I want to die if I ever get put in that situation. So Edward knows what he has to do, but I think, you know, he doesn't want to do it until he's ready. And there were some really great, like, family moments, especially between him and Mia, you know, where she really, is such a mature kid for her age, if you think about it. I mean, she does stupid things, but I mean, she's obviously seen a lot and been through a lot with her family, and so, you know, she was the one who kind of pushed him to that place where it was like, you know, it's okay to let go. And it was just so sad, like, when he did have them turn it off, and it was just tough. And then, of course, he hires somebody to find the guy who killed her, and, yeah, basically has this guy killed. So I guess we get that, you know, Eddie Spaghetti, while we love him, because Edward is my favorite Deception character, we also get that there is a dark side to him, you know, for real, basically. We also get some closure for Mia as Kyle shows back up and they kind of reconnect, which was really kind of good. Because I like them together, and I like him, so that was cool. But then she gets kidnapped at the end, so that's gonna be a problem for them. I'm sad that this is over, that, you know, that's possibly it for Deception. So, yeah, you guys, the finale was good. I feel satisfied in finally knowing who killed Vivian. And I would definitely watch a season 2 if that happened. I would want to see Robert Bowers get what he deserves. and kind of see what else kind of happens in the Bowers family life and with all of our other characters. So, you know, I've still got my fingers crossed for a season 2, but I guess we will have to wait and see what happens. Okay guys, that is it for me today. This is possibly the last Deception review, which is kind of sad. Which is really kind of sad. Don't forget to come and check out the Deception chat tonight. Like I said, there's a chat feature on YouTube, so you can actually ask questions and like add your comments and stuff, and I will definitely be reading those and kind of tossing those out. And we're going to talk about everything about Deception, our favorite episodes and all kinds of stuff like that, so definitely make sure you guys come and hang out with me. Oh, and let me add that if you're watching this video, like later, you know, and you're like, dang it, I missed that chat, I will be posting the chat on my page. So I'll throw a link up here on this video for it. And you can go back and kind of rewatch what we talked about. So there you go. You guys, it's been amazing fun to talk Deception with you. I have enjoyed your comments in the comment section. You guys, we seriously get into it every week in the comment section. I mean, it's like... there's sometimes over 100 comments because we're all throwing out our theories and asking questions and things like that, and I have enjoyed that so much, you guys. So maybe you watch another show that I watch. Come do that there, because I don't want to miss you guys. Stay with me. Thanks so much for watching, you guys, and I will see you again soon. I'll see you again tonight.